having kept ducks and chickens for a few years, I always wanted to have an aviary where I could house various finches and of course some small birds on the floor, and that's exactly what happened. My 14th birthday in October 2016, I inherited an aviary, and that introduced me to a species that is kept in many aviaries around the world. They're a great cleanup crew and they're known as quail. So the first species of quail I had was of course the domesticated, your standard quail, which was the Japanese quail. These are the domestic bird. They are designed for laying large quantities of eggs through the spring and the summer months, and they are much larger than the ones that you would find in the wild. So they were superb to have in that aviary. They used to go around picking up all the spilt seed from the birds above them, and they worked really, really well, feeding on that and then producing some lovely little eggs for us to eat at the weekend. I used to have them in many different colours. We had the normal standard types, we had Italian golds, we had whites, we had pieds. Really, really cool, and they come in plenty more colours than that today. Really lovely little birds, and they used to breed quite well as well. I remember having, I think, 11 or 12 in the aviary as it expanded, and I actually used to have them sell their eggs on eBay for hatching eggs, and that used to help recoup a little bit of money to go towards the seed to pay for not only themselves with their pellets, but the birds that used to fly above them in the aviary. It used to pay for their seed, and that worked really nicely for me, meaning that my little hobby was costing very little out of my pocket. Now, the thing with the Japanese or the Cortinix quails that have been domesticated is that they really are not natural or in their behaviour in any sort of way. One of the things with them was they never bred naturally. They would never lay their eggs in an actual proper formed nest and then look to go broody and incubate them. I think that instinct has clearly been bred out of them in replacement for plentiful sort of large clutches throughout the spring and the summer. So you might expect to get maybe 200 eggs out of a quail hen every year. I also recall the males being quite loud. As we expanded the aviary and we had a really big planted area, the males would come out first thing in the morning with the sunrise. They'd climb up on a rock or a trunk of some tree in there, and they'd stand there and call, and they'd give this call that was like a cackle. It was like a pheasant, if you know what a pheasant sounds like, or a grouse. I'll play it now for you. Well, that was super cool to hear, but once again, not ideal if you've got neighbours in a close proximity for the males, but the females, super quiet. I even rescued some from the local RSPCA. They had a box of, I think, 2 or 3 quail left on their doorstep, and they advertised them. I came the following day, picked them up and brought them to my aviary. It was lovely to see them all come out in the morning, spend a bit of time foraging for the seeds that had been spilt from the birds in the aviary above them. They were a wonderful species to keep, and I'm sure I'll have some again at some point, but what worked really well, and there's something that I'd recommend for people if you're wanting to start your own back garden flock but maybe don't have enough room for chickens, is get some quail. They need a relatively smaller coop than you'd of course need for chickens. You don't have to free range them because they'd fly out or be predated. They produce some lovely little eggs, and they're quite docile as well, so really do suit families with young children. Rather than having chickens that are much larger, make a mess and need to free range, have some quails in a decent sized coop and they're perfect.